Natalie Blenford, a British journalist in Liverpool right now. And Natalie, sometimes we find you around here as well, I know, so good to catch you there at this point. Look, I just want to say this was a big deal here. I could hear out the window around Tel Aviv here during the show, especially when Noa was coming on. I mean, a lot of people watching. It was a party. You could hear it going on. So Israelis were wrapped up in this. I think most of Europe wrapped up in this as well. And it seemed to be a pretty, characteristic event. A lot of these wild shows, a lot of special effects, a lot of interesting songs, a big variety. But we also saw a Scandinavian team here, the Swedish team, win their 7th total win. I mean, how do you look at the tournament overall, at the competition? How'd it go?
Yeah, I mean, it's an enormous competition. So there's 37 countries that are involved. And we had a build-up to last night. I'm not sure if viewers in Israel know or viewers in America know, but there's semi-finals. There was a semi-final on Tuesday and on Thursday. There were 5 countries knocked out from each one. And then yesterday was the grand final. And it's a huge production. I sat and I watched a dress rehearsal on Friday morning, and I was just blown away by the scale of it. Yeah. Every act brings their best 3 minutes of pop, their best special effects, their best everything, their best game, their A game. And there was excitement here in Liverpool for Noa Kirel as well. There was a feeling that she was a really high quality entrant, a true pop princess, and that she was the complete package. But Eurovision being Eurovision, they're favourites, and Sweden and Finland were both way ahead with the bookies right from the start. And it was almost like some of us in the press pack were discussing and saying, if they were in a separate competition, it's anyone's game. From Sweden, Finland down, it's like anyone could win. And what Noa achieved, I'm sure we're going to get onto that, is that she won the class below Sweden and Finland, in the sense that she really just kept climbing and climbing in the rankings to finish 3rd place. And it was a phenomenal result. And there was a lot of excitement for her here in Liverpool.
What propelled her? I mean, what contributed to that? Because as you mentioned, I mean, there's so many, there's so much competition. I mean, it's hard to differentiate. They're so different. You find yourself almost getting lost as a regular viewer, at least getting lost in, wow, how do you differentiate all these people? What propelled her to the top spot, to be so near the top?
So I actually spoke with Doron Medali last night after the results came out, and he's the co-writer of the song. I mean, he's the main writer, really. And he also wrote Toy for Netta, so he has experience in winning Eurovision. And he said that after Friday night's jury performance, because maybe, again, what people don't know is that there's a Friday night performance. It's exactly the same as the show we saw last night, but it's recorded and sent to the professional juries in the different countries so that they can cast their votes. And he actually said to me that he had a feeling watching that show that Noa had just stolen a whole bunch of votes that Israel hadn't expected to get, because she just blew the roof off. He just said she was absolutely amazing. And he had this feeling. And he was particularly pleased that she finished 2nd in the jury vote, because that means that all the industry people from around the world basically sat there in their rooms, and however they do it these days, and decided, we're giving votes to Israel. So he thinks that's what propelled her to be in 2nd place. And he also said that she never went out of the rankings. She was never lower than 3rd, which is incredible as the results came in.
Look, there's another layer, unfortunately, that got added to her experience this week. I mean, geopolitical issues. And this all ended up happening in the midst of a Gaza military operation for the IDF. Obviously, no good press around that typically in Europe. So I found it amazing that she placed so high by European voters despite that. Look, those mixed feelings, though, around Israel, I thought they were fairly palpable in the crowd. I mean, I think at the end you could kind of hear when Israel was mentioned that, it was during the scoring, that there was mixed reaction from that crowd, to say it best. Is that reflective of just the simply complex attitudes towards Israel across the continent?
It is really complex. I mean, yesterday afternoon I was in Liverpool just buying a coffee, and there was a pro-Palestine, anti-Israel march that went past me, and there was about 100 people marching. And it was quite a strange thing to see, because it was so out of the blue, because Eurovision is all about unity. The slogan this year is United by Music. And it's one of the only places where you see the Israeli flag standing side by side with other countries without anyone commenting on the politics. And it's just a beautiful thing. And Israel is so part of the Eurovision world. It's a core country, even though it's not technically in Europe, but it's it's just got such
four-time winner, four-time Eurovision winner. Yes, Israel's on the map with Eurovision, no question, as recently as 2018. Yeah.
So it was really kind of horrible to see the kind of outside world sort of almost piercing the Eurovision bubble of joy. But actually, again, Doron said, I asked him, I said, how did you guys cope with it being such a bad week? And he said, no phone, no news, energy flowing. Eurovision is a bubble, and we just lost ourselves in the bubble. And I was amazed to hear that, because I saw a lot of Instagram posts from Noa. So I don't think it was a case of no phone, but maybe there'd been a discussion about don't look at the news. Look, I think in the press room where I was, there was warm feeling all around, and there was nobody talking about the conflict. It was everyone supporting each other's acts. But the general public is always a slightly different ball game. Although I would almost say I felt that there was warmer vibes towards Israel here than when it was in Tel Aviv, because of course, I don't know if you remember, but in Tel Aviv, the Iceland act were very anti-Israel, and they pulled out a flag at the end. And so it felt like, in a sense, this was more smooth. Perhaps that's a sign that the news doesn't really trickle out of Israel. And I bet you there were many people in the audience last night who had no idea about what's been going on in Israel this week.
Fair enough, and I hope that's true to a large degree. Yes, and I think it's reflected again in the highest standing. Noa Kirel did a great job there. Appreciate you, Natalie, for giving us your insight and some of the inside experience you had throughout the competition as well. It was again fun to watch from Israel. We're happy to have you on the show. Thanks, Natalie.
Thank you.
Now it's in the air.